I'm here at the very nice Cafe Kino in Bristol. It's just to follow on from that previous video about Mr. Fox and the animal rights activists and conspiracy, because people are saying, well, what exactly is conspiracy? So, a brief overview. Conspiracy is interesting because it's both a statutory offence, but there are also certain types of common law conspiracy. But what they all have in common is that conspiracy is just an agreement between two or more people to carry out a criminal act. I didn't mention actually there are some conspiracies where you're actually carrying out a civil wrong, but that's quite a specialist area, sort of like 18th and 19th century trade union law, so it probably won't crop up a lot. But yeah, the thing is, the offence is committed when there is an agreement. Doesn't matter if you don't take things any further. Also, even if you withdraw from the conspiracy before some act has been carried out, it doesn't matter. That can go to mitigation, but you are still guilty of the offence. The agreement has to be communicated in some way. You can't just be coincidentally acting in a common purpose. Can be spoken word, can be in writing, but as the authorities say, a conspiracy, you can enter a conspiracy with a nod and a wink. Interestingly, husbands and wives and people in civil partnerships, if they're the only people in the conspiracy, it's not a conspiracy. However, if there are other people involved in the conspiracy, then it is. So you can't just basically have a sort of a couples-only armed robbery gang. There has to be an agreement to commit the offence, but the motive doesn't count, and this becomes especially relevant if undercover police are involved. Say you enter into an agreement with one other person to commit some offence, and it turns out they're an undercover police officer, and it's just effectively entrapment. That doesn't matter. That still amounts to a conspiracy, even if one of the other party never intended to carry on with the act. What if you agree to do something and it's not actually possible to do it? Does that matter? Well, the law distinguishes between things that are factually impossible and legally impossible. So let's say we decide that we are going to rob Barclays Bank in Penzance. Actually, that bank shut down a few years ago, so it would be actually impossible to do it, but it doesn't matter. We agree to do something that is legally possible, i.e. rob a bank. But what if we decide we're going to get a little gang together and we're going to import snuff because we think it's illegal? Actually, importing snuff isn't illegal. So that's legally impossible to commit the offence. So conspiracy can't apply in that particular circumstance. Generally speaking, the CPS are advised that ideally they should charge the substantive offence if it's gone sort of far enough. However, they quite often do charge conspiracy, but generally speaking they should have both conspiracy and the substantive offence on the indictment. They have to pick one or the other. There are advantages to charging people with conspiracy, certainly in terms of evidence and admissibility of evidence, because generally speaking things like confessions are only evidence against the person who made the confession. They're not evidence against anybody else involved in the case, and any sort of transcript or tape would have to be edited. But if it's conspiracy, it's easier to get that in because you say, well, they're all operating on one collective mind. Also, the fact that one person pleads guilty to conspiracy is admissible of evidence that there was a conspiracy. The sentence for conspiracy is generally whatever the sentence would be for the substantive offence had it been carried out. Except, interestingly, if it's conspiracy to murder, although it's a mandatory life sentence for murder, it's not a mandatory life sentence for conspiracy to murder, although a life sentence is available. But anyway, that was just a little overview. Like I say, it's a relatively simple area, but the key thing to remember is the offence is committed as soon as people agree to commit the offence. That's all they have to do. They don't have to take it any further. Normally what we call attempts or incoherent offences, that's offences where the ultimate act hasn't been carried out. You have to sort of take steps that are more than merely preparatory to the offence. But in conspiracy, no, that's it. Just get your heads together. I actually had one case where the conspirators actually minuted the conspiracy. They were that organised, although luckily that didn't get into evidence in court. But anyway, if you found that vaguely useful, please consider clicking the like button, sharing and subscribing, and see you next time.